Hey, so I'm back here doing my weird Lego ramble video with all of you, because I want to talk about a moment that happened on SNL this past weekend that I thought was the most relatable moment I have ever seen SNL do for me as a queer person. And I mean that incredibly earnestly, especially considering the fact that it was completely on accident. I don't really watch SNL all that much, mostly because I find a lot of its humor incredibly milquetoast, both comedically and politically, especially when it tries to get political. I find it to be very capital L liberal in a neoliberal sense, in ways that just very much frustrate me. The only time I think I watched it is when they do like Pedro Pascal Mario Kart jokes that I think are hilarious. That's about the extent of my like SNL watching I do nowadays. But this past weekend, at the end of SNL, where they do that sort of stand-up, like all the cast comes on and all the guests come on and they sort of mill about as the credits roll, happened. A weird thing happened where Dave Chappelle, who was not involved in the episode at all, came on stage and was like part of that like ending moment. Now, without getting all into it, we all can know Dave Chappelle is very controversial right now for his extremely anti-trans jokes and narratives and cancel culture weaponization that he has done to sort of vilify the trans community, especially at this moment where trans people are being so directly targeted and attacked. And so, he is quite literally contributing with his comedy, quote unquote comedy, to the perpetuation of sort of anti-trans narratives that are quite literally causing us harm. Is he the person causing all of them? No. Is he directly going out and like stabbing trans people or pushing anti-trans legislation? No. But he is certainly using his platform to vilify trans people at a time where vilifying us is even more dangerous than it would be any other day. So to like see him step up weirdly at the end of this like SNL moment when he wasn't even like part of the episode is itself like speaking to this idea of how like despite the fact that he is continually causing this harm, despite the fact that numerous LGBTQ groups and trans advocates and other folks have called him out on this, he is still allowed into these places of power, privilege, and platform that just go completely unchallenged. He can just walk right up and be there. He's part of the institution of that sort of comedic world. But what ended up being very relatable to me was Bowen Yang, who is a gay cast member on SNL, saw this, and he doesn't say anything, but you can see the moment he has positioned himself as far away from Dave Chappelle as he possibly could get in that moment on screen. And it was this striking visual to me because I just felt that moment as a queer person. And I think so many queer people can relate to this visual because so many of us have had that experience of being in a room with people who are supposedly our family, our friends, our colleagues, and them welcoming in someone who is directly, homophobic, transphobic, and being told to, suck it up or deal with it. I know numerous friends of mine who have gone home for Christmas and they had a transphobic grandparent, and they themselves are trans. And then the family just started saying, well, you need to suck it up. You need to deal with it. You need to not cause a scene. And if they ever speak up, the trans person ever speaks up about this family member, they are seen as the one causing the issue. They are the ones causing a scene. They're the ones being seen as aggressive and disrupting things. Because what the friends or family group values is just to everything be made to seem normal and fine, and their comfortability is key. Without realizing that by welcoming this person who is actively attacking your personhood, you are signaling to your family member, someone who you say you value, that you don't give a shit about their feelings. You don't give a shit about their comfortability. You don't give a shit about their safety. That they need to make themselves small and shut up so that everyone else can feel comfortable and you can have this person who you want to welcome into your group to be there for you. There. Because you want them there. And because they're not bothering or attacking you. And so to see Bowen off to the side here, both out of choice because he wants to sort of make this visual protest against Dave Chappelle, but also by the fact that like he is so separated from everyone else and how moments like this really ostracize queer people and how we get pushed out. It was just a really weirdly powerful image to me. We see this happening over and over and over again. I mean, like, I've used this example a bunch, but I think it's just such a great one for this, of like something like Hogwarts Legacy. We can see this playing out in like a cultural scale of like people being like, I want to have Hogwarts Legacy. This thing makes me comfortable. I want to go back to Hogwarts. I want to welcome J.K. Rowling and some semblance back into our world. And trans people saying, this makes me uncomfortable. And then people saying, like, oh, you're attacking me. You're the disruptive one. You're telling me I'm a bad person. It's like, no, I'm just telling you how I feel about your choices, about how you're making me feel like you don't care about me by playing this game and giving money to someone who's causing harm to my community and giving platform to not necessarily their bigotry directly, but like tacitly saying that that's something you don't care about or is even okay. And that being seen, that vocalizing that being seen as an attack, and how that pushes trans people further and further out of spaces in the name of comfortability. Comfortability and the upholding of the normalization of the bigotries that we just say, like, you need to listen to that as an opposing point of view, as opposed to what it is, which is the dehumanization and attack of our personhood. And I'm even seeing this happen now with Bowen, like people saying like, oh, he caused a scene, oh, he's making a big issue of it. I was like, dude just stepped off to the side. And like, yeah, made like very clear his feelings, but like didn't even disrupt things. Like the show it, like he didn't like go and yell at the camera or scream or whatever. Even though I think that would have been more like if dude had gone on stage and said "fuck Dave Chappelle," I would have been here for it. I would have had so much more respect for the man. But that's not even what he's doing. He's trying to make his feelings known in a space that is very much showing that they don't care for his feelings, which is again a very queer moment. Queer people are so often vilified and seen as like attacking people or causing a scene or making everything about us, when in reality, all we often do is just try to make things as comfortable as possible so we don't have to deal with all the bullshit. And the few times where we do, try to articulate our feelings about stuff, we're seen as the ones that are disruptive and attacking, rather than the people who are actually doing that. And sure, there are further conversations to be had about like Bowen is still taking a paycheck from SNL. He's still working there. The show is certainly, as I already articulated, not exactly progressive in a lot of ways. But and yes, as someone who myself is a very anarchistic person who's like, yeah, let's tear this all down, fuck it all, and let's build something better and new. I certainly have empathy for that, but I also like understand, we live in a cap society and dude wants to pay his bills and he wants to, have a career doing the things that he loves, and SNL is certainly a way to do that. So like, while it's certainly not a choice I would make, it's one that I certainly empathize with deeply. So, I do see that criticism of him of like, well, you could make a bigger protest, but I also understand the position that he's in. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. It was a very relatable moment that I wanted to talk about, but I'd love to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of that moment of SNL? Do you give a shit? It was just something that was very interesting to me. Beyond all of that, I hope you all live long and prosper.